Welcome to I'll Hang Up and Listen, brought to you by Fatty Beer Company and, of course, Buffalo Logo Apparel. Fatty Beer, Buffalo's premier market and tap room in all of Western New York. 7 different Western New York locations. Open 7 days a week from 11:30 a.m. till 10:30 p.m. and later. And live entertainment, trivia, and music at all 7 locations on a weekly basis. And Western New York's one of Western New York's only kid and dog friendly bars. And let's not forget Buffalo Logo Co Apparel. That was a terrible transition with the hat. Buffalo Co Apparel, Buffalo's best spot for all of your Buffalo sports needs when it comes to your shirts, your hats, your hoodies, all local designs, and they support a lot of local businesses. Make sure you check them out. Tell them Two Goalies One Mike sent you. Get your hands on this beautiful, beautiful Buffalo hockey trucker hat with the old school throwback NHL shield. Hurls, Sabres, kickoff 2024. Devon Levi returns home, and Jason Pominville in the crowd tonight for an absolute blast of a hockey game, dominating more so in the third period, especially the Montreal Canadiens 6-1.
Yeah, new year, new team. Hopefully, I guess that's to be determined on Saturday. See if they can get their second 2-game win streak of the year. But at least tonight, they looked a little bit like the team that we became used to last season. They had a lot of really, really good chances. It was a little bit of a slow start. I think it was for everybody. But at least offensively, it seemed as though they had a little bit of swagger back. It seemed like they stopped thinking as much as they have been about this new system that's been instated that encouraged them to play a little bit more in the neutral zone, a little bit better defensively. And they just played hockey, which is kind of what I think a lot of us want from them in the second half of the season. And it's not even the second half of the season. So there's a little bit of hope there, given how disappointing of a start it's been. But I think tonight in general, obviously the Canadiens are the best team, but I do believe it's a good sign moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. And, we're actually going to debut the inaugural episode of Hockey Hotline here tonight. We had 3 callers call in, a couple of them friends of the program. And, what is keeping this team from being not even just being this team consistently, just being this team 2 games in a row? It drives me nuts.
Yeah, I think it's pretty inexplicable, but I think a lot of it is mental. They have been gripping their sticks too tight. I think they've had a lot of opportunities, at least recently in the past month or so, but they just haven't been scoring goals. I was at the game, 2 games in Buffalo against the Bruins, which was largely just a bad game in general, but also against the Blue Jackets. And they absolutely dominated the Blue Jackets. And that game never should have gone into overtime, but they could not capitalize as much as they wanted to. But tonight, they had 38 shots on goal, but 6 goals, obviously 3 in the third period. But they still had a lot of really, really good opportunities, and they did capitalize, particularly on the power play, which I'm sure we'll get into. But, it looked a little bit like the team, especially on the road, that we were used to seeing last season. They played with a lot of swagger and a lot of confidence on the road last year. Obviously, that needs to translate at home. Coming up here, they have 6 home games in a row after the game against Pittsburgh on Saturday. So that's going to need to translate in front of the home crowd. But this is a very winnable stretch of games in January up until they go on the West Coast road trip. I do believe it's possible for them to get back in it. They got to start winning 5 of 7, 7 of 9. 9 of 11, but once they do that, at least the vibes will be back and the belief that they can get back into this race.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's a lot of teams below them in the standings, Ottawa being one of them that have a lot of games in hand on Buffalo. So, we've heard a lot that, maybe we had them in the standings, but Buffalo's in trouble if they don't start winning because, all it takes is Ottawa to rip off a couple of wins. And they're right there with you in the standings ahead of you. You're currently, before tonight's game, you're 7th in the Atlantic. For me, it's just like, is this a structure problem with coaching? Is it like Mike Harrington says a lot? It's the players on top of the coaching. I mean, we have seen a ton of regression from a lot of players, even before tonight with Tage Thompson, Dylan Cousins. Jeff Skinner is always the guy who's going to score consistently. He's always going to do his job. For lacking what he does defensively, he always shows up offensively. I don't know. I'm not in favor of firing Granato at all. I just want a team I want a franchise that's going to stick with a same head coach and the same GM for 2 seasons in a row. Let him ride out the season. Hopefully he rights the ship and gets off to where he, left off last season, where we were 1 point away from making the playoffs. I don't know. I just need this power play, and that's one of the big things too. We saw finally the power play broke through, in 2 for 4 or 2 for 5 tonight. You still give a shorthanded goal, but like that is one of the things that's really holding you back is the lack of special team scoring. And we're going to talk to those callers about this here in a minute. What has to be done on the ice and from a coaching standpoint to get this product on a night by night basis?
I mean, quicker starts, number one. I think it's helpful that they scored the first goal tonight. That hasn't happened very much this entire season. I'd say that it's probably been less than 40% of the games that they've scored the first goal. So I think that really helps. I think this team does not do nearly as well. They don't run their systems as well. They're not as effective offensively when teams obviously clog up the neutral zone, as we've seen many times this year. So getting off to hot starts, I think it's really important, and that's both defense and offense, obviously. But that's going to make a huge difference moving forward. They need to score the first goal as much as they possibly can. And even if they don't, game's not over when it's 1-0. It feels like sometimes this season that once a quick goal goes in, or even the first goal of the game in the second period goes in, this team just loses all of their mojo and their ability to execute anything that they want. And they start gripping their sticks a little bit tighter and they can't score goals. So I think that is where you start. They always say game by game, night by night, you just got to go in there. And the simplest way to do that is get off to a good start and go from there. And I think they did a really good job of that tonight. And then obviously the second thing that we've talked about a lot, and it obviously needs to be better, but it was tonight, is the power play. And I think there was a tangible change tonight with what they did, especially down low, below the hash marks. First goal, Skinner got down low, got a pass from Dahlin, and Middlestat came in from the other side. Nice pass, one-timer goal. Almost the exact same play, opposite side of the ice, tuck over to Skinner about 2 or 3 minutes later and into goal. I cannot stress enough that they need a little bit more passing and cohesion in the power play, as we saw last year. Mostly with Tate from that half wall, but teams have kind of figured that out. If they don't have that, they got to take that away. But you at least saw a little glimmer of hope tonight. You obviously cannot keep doing that exact play, but those options on either side of the net, down and close, are going to open other things up, particularly in the slot, probably.
Yeah, I can't agree with you more, man. You know how they tried to find different ways to use that bumper position to their advantage. It was essentially the same play on the power play, just on opposite sides, opposite back doors. The first one being the middle stat. And when I was watching that play, happen, it was almost like it was taking forever for him to get that pass over to middle stat. I'm like, oh my God, he's there. Get it to him. And then finally it goes in. I was just like, holy shit, man. Why do they make this look so hard every single game? Look, I know the penalty kill in Montreal is horrid, but you guys have the talent to be one of the better power plays in the National Hockey League. There's nothing keeping you but from yourselves and getting bodies to the net. And even when the nice tic-tac-toe passing isn't really working for you, there's nothing stopping you from getting to the net. Look at the only goal, for instance, that was scored on Levi tonight. Terrible play by Dahlin. It was a shorthanded goal, but look what a screen can do. Look at the disallowed goal. He never saw that. Granted, it was a goalie interference, but just get bodies to the net. Get bodies to the net and make it hard for whoever's in net to at least see the shot. Hopefully you get a second chance, because that isn't always going to work the way it did tonight on the power play. Sometimes it just takes getting a puck on net and hoping for a second opportunity. If they can get this power play rolling, to your point, this team can, I'm not going to say be dangerous, but they can position themselves again. Again, the Eastern Conference hasn't exactly been a powerhouse this year. The Sabres, through all their struggles, are still in it. Just get this power play going, rip off a couple winning streaks here, 3 games in a row here, 4 games in a row there. You could get right back into this.
Yeah. Philadelphia's at 19, 13, and 6, and they're in the first wild card spot right now. That's 500. So it's not out of the question that the Sabres can climb back in. And if they do, let's say it's early February, mid-February, trade deadline's coming up, you potentially could bring a forward in that possesses those same types of qualities that we've talked about. A guy like Brendan Gallagher on the Canadiens tonight does that exact thing in front of the net, gets in people's faces, gets dirty goals. Not nearly enough dirty goals from this team, as we've talked about a lot. And that needs to be a point of emphasis moving forward. But I do think if they do get themselves into contention, similar to where they were last year, and they went out and got Jordan Greenway, obviously he's been much better this year than he was at the end of last season, as he's gotten accustomed to the team a little bit more. But you go and get a guy like that. Obviously, Oposto's week to week right now. Who knows when he'll be back? I think you can make up for not doing anything during the summer by hopefully going out and getting someone to help you potentially make the playoffs if you get yourself into that position. Because if you don't, you might be a seller. Call this a wasted season or a lost season, what have you. But I do believe that fast starts and the power play are the two main keys for this team moving forward. And as we saw tonight, you need good goaltending. You need good defensive awareness in the zone. You can't have turnovers in your own end. Obviously, these are all things that hockey teams need to have on a nightly basis. But Sabres got all of them tonight, and it's a 6-1 win. Not against a very good team, but I think it's a stepping stone, especially first game of the new year.
Here's the thing, though. Like, you show up against, for the most part, against the good teams. These are the games you have to play like this. You have to dominate like this. And they did, finally. Again, most of the scoring came in the third period when you got Montreal on their heels. But I said it. We said it on Two Goalies with Mike, in game notes. Don't play to not lose. Play to win. And there's a difference. Playing not to lose is play on your heels, constantly defending, gripping your stick tight, hoping and praying that you get to that final buzzer. Sabres didn't play to not lose in the third period. They played to win, and they won decisively. They put a bad team on their heels, and a goalie who – all credit to Jake Allen, man. Like, he's been in the league for quite some time now. I've always liked him, but he's not a true 1A, and you took advantage of that, and you pumped – what was two of the goals were empty netters, I believe, right? Or was it one of them?
No. The sixth goal was a 2-on-1. I mean, he had no chance, but Tage went. There was
one empty netter, I know that, and then
Devon got the fifth goal.
Yes,
they pulled the goalie. They're down 4-1 with 5 minutes and 40 seconds left. Pretty aggressive move by Martin St. Louis, but I honestly respect it. I think,
why not?
If you think you can get back in the game, you might as well. Who cares if another goal is scored?
All it took is one. All it takes is one. Get it right back in there.
Yeah.
4-1, make it 4-2. It's a hockey game again.
To his credit, Delling's he's pretty accurate on those empty net goals. He's had a few of those in his career. So that was pretty impressive. But as you speak of goaltending, Devon Levi in his hometown tonight was unbelievable. From the opening save, where he does a full split across his crease on a 2-on-1 backdoor play. And it wasn't even just that. There were like 3 or 4 rebound opportunities after that where he somehow sealed the ice in that situation. It blows my mind how he's
one of the best at sealing the ice, man. He really is.
It's crazy, though. Like, he is completely middle split without question. Yeah. Shows his flexibility, his athleticism. And then many times throughout the game, I think his crease movement was really good. I think he struggled with being a little bit too deep in his net at points this year. Probably giving up goals that he himself would have wanted back. I think he's, as a 21, 22-year-old kid, getting adjusted to the speed and the pace of the game and the types of shots and goals that a lot of the best players in the world can score, which makes complete sense. But I do think a night like tonight, as we've seen from him, he's had a lot of really, really good games this year as well. I think a night like tonight is another really big stepping stone for him.
Yeah. Did you see that stat on Jeff Skinner?
No, him against the Canadiens.
Yeah, the only company Jeff Skinner is in for that, not a legendary stat, but it's noteworthy. Wayne Gretzky, the great one, Super Mario Lemieux, and now joining that circle, or not even a circle, just like a game of catch, is Jeff Skinner with 3 points in tonight's game. Jeff Skinner has recorded 15 points in his last 6 games in Montreal. Only Mario Lemieux, 16 points from 1997 to 2002, and Wayne Gretzky, 17 points from 1985 to 1988, have recorded more points in a 6 games road span against the Canadiens in NHL history. I mean, to his credit, man, all he does is produce offensively. Again, you can talk about his defensive prowess or lack thereof all day long to your blue in the face or red in the face, whatever. But it's impressive company to be in for Jeff Skinner.
Yeah, it's not bad anytime you talk with Mario Lemieux in the same sentence. I took him to get a point and a goal tonight, so shout out to me. I saw that stat right before puck drop. I jumped on that as quickly as I possibly could. But at the same time, he's done this pretty consistently for the Sabres since he's joined the team in 2018, aside from the months we will not speak of with Ralph Kruger. He's been strikingly consistent as an offensive player his entire career, not only with the Sabres, but also with the Hurricanes. He has yet to play a playoff game, and I feel so bad for this man.
Right.
He is 2 months older than me. He's 31 years old. He's been in the league since he was 18. I think that it would be one of the best stories in hockey if he can get to the playoffs.
Finally,
with this team this year.
Finally taste the postseason. I want it so bad just as a Sabres fan, but especially for a guy like Jeff who has taken a lot of criticism over his career for being like a one-trick pony. Obviously, he had that year and a half with Thou Who Shall Not Be Named where he was wrongfully punished to either the fourth line or the press box. I would love to see that for Jeff Skinner in the same season. He gets 1,000 games. Same thing for Kyle Okposo. It would be great. We're going to kick it, and this is more of like a trial run that we did with this. Connor, you weren't a part of it. I apologize for that. I was just really all over the place trying to make this work, trying to figure out how it would work. Obviously, you will be a part of it in the future, and I did save the last question for us both to answer. We did have 3 callers in the inaugural episode segment of Hockey Hotline, throwback to Mike Robitaille. Can't wait to see how this works out. It did go a little lengthy, so again, it's a trial and error thing. So we're going to kick it over to those 3 guys who did call in, Matt, Frank, and friend of the program, Steve Bennett. Going to kick it over to that right now. Just give me one moment. Remember, trial and error, everybody. Forgive me. Where is it? Oh, there we go. Hockey Hotline, everybody. And welcome to the inaugural episode of Hockey Hotline, only featured on I'll Hang Up and Listen, brought to you by Fatty Beer Company and Buffalo Co. Buffalo's premier places for all your... Actually, let me start that over again. Hold on. All right. And welcome to the inaugural episode of Hockey Hotline by Fatty Beer Company and Buffalo Co. I am joined here, very first ever caller on Hockey Hotline, by Matt, also known to you as Paramat Pictures. Matt, Sabres first win of 2024. Tell me how you feel, bud.
Cautiously optimistic, man. And I'll ask you one thing. I mean, I asked you on Twitter, like 45 seconds, the kid line was buzzing around, skating circles around the team. I've seen it so many times this year and last year as well. And then just a minor breakdown, and we let the softy. This time it was, a penalty was called, but we still let in the shorty. I mean, that's just, kind of our power play for this year. What do you think?
They were one of the best power plays in the league last year, and they've gone from essentially, best to last, I would say. I really don't know what the issues have been. You have a lot of guys underperforming. You start off hot with you score on your second and third power play opportunity, and then you go from that to that absolute stinker where you see Dahlin getting lazy with the puck, get his pocket picked, and then Armia, who always seems to score against his former team, drives me nuts, uses Dahlin as a screen and picks Levi top corner. I really don't know what the issue there is. If it's a coaching thing or as Mike Herron does a lot, it's a player thing. You guys need to be better prepared, know your roles on the special teams, and just play fearless, in my opinion. I don't really have an answer for that. But we do know these guys are capable of it, and having Jack Quinn back has been an absolute breath of fresh air. And hopefully they mix these power play lines up much like they did tonight and get a better result. And thank the Lord for Casey Middlestat, who I think is robbed of an opportunity to play in this year's All-Star game. Hopefully the fans can vote him. Thank you, Matt, for hopping in, bud. Appreciate you. Our first inaugural caller, Matt on Hockey Hotline. Next, we bring in from a blast from the past, Frank Zawodzinski. Buddy,
Right here.
How long has
What's
it
up,
been?
brother?
I didn't see at the Sabres games. Thanks for coming in on the inaugural episode of Hockey Hotline, bud.
Thanks for having me. What's going on, man? How are you? It's great to see
I'm
you.
ecstatic. Best. We're 1-0 in 2024, just like anybody else has won so far this year. So
I mean,
super pumped for that.
yeah, I mean, it's kind of, it's been a rocky road. That's one thing that we both can agree on.
Yep.
And I'm a little skeptic. We need to keep this going. We need to continue, especially the power play. I mean, look at what we did today. I mean, we got to keep that rolling. If that's not going to roll, the Sabres aren't going to roll. So, love seeing Jack Quinn just keep on just putting them in. The one thing that is kind of troubling to me has been like sometimes have you noticed those like mental lapses where Darlene, like, he's elite. We know he's elite.
We all know how good he is. Yeah.
He makes those like mental lapses. Like, I know on the last caller you were talking about like Joel Armia. He scores every game.
His first goal is disallowed, and he said, "Screw it." He scores on us shorthanded.
Exactly.
It drives me nuts, man. It drives me absolutely nuts.
But I've noticed those where Darlene, like, he just makes those mistakes, those little mistakes when we don't need him to. Of course, today it didn't really make a difference because we did outscore. But like sometimes he just makes those mistakes, and it annoys me sometimes. And I love the guy. He's the bread and butter of this team. If we didn't have him, where would we really be, especially in the hole we're in right now?
Yeah.
But
no, go ahead. Keep going.
No, you can keep going. I want to hear what you guys say.
Listen, like when it comes to Darlene, and this goes for Owen Power too, and Sammy this season, it's just been Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, right? Like offensively, yeah, that's why Darlene has made the All-Star game. We know it's a popularity contest. Usually guys like Darlene, like Eichel when he was here, are going to be playing in that game. But for me, like, it's just complete polar opposite of what he was in the defensive zone last year compared to this year. You expect him to be your best defenseman on both sides of the ice, and he just hasn't been. Same thing for Owen Power. People call it a sophomore slump. I really don't know. It's just, it comes down to mechanics for me. Maybe that was a little bit cockiness on his part when he got his pocket picked by Armia there, and he just, I'll maybe chalk it up to that. But I mean, that was a lazy play. That was a very lazy play, and he paid for it. So I don't really know. For me, like an answer for that, if it's coaching, like Mike, I said on the last caller, Mike Harrington, he chalks it up to it's partly coaching, but mostly it's the players. And I say that too. Like, structurally, they have been one of the worst teams in the National Hockey League in the D zone this year. And not that was a situation where structure had anything to do with it. That was just a stupid play on Darlene's part. But I don't know. I'm willing to give at least Granato till the end of this season to figure it out, because I'm sick and tired of constantly changing coaches in this franchise. I've always said it's difficult for any player or any team or any core of players to find success when there's so much changeover in the two most important positions in your organization, coach and GM. So I'd like to have like 2 full seasons where we have the same coach and GM just to see how it pans out. This was a great start to 2024. Your power play was buzzing. Granted, you give up a shorty. Devon Levi looked fantastic in front of the hometown.
Dude, that one like glove where he
windmill Wednesday on a third. That was fantastic.
I was going nuts on that one.
Yeah, I listen. I hopefully they get back to their some of the things they were doing last year. You've seen Renato kind of say he's going to kind of take the reins on the power play. I kind of look at this almost like a Ken Dorsey McDermott over the Bills thing. Are they being overcoached? Is he asking them to play outside of themselves? Kind of like we saw with Ralph Kruger with Jeff Skinner and those teams. He tried to turn them into a defensive shutdown team when they just weren't? Is that what's been happening here, and that's what's led to the lack of scoring? I don't know, because scoring chances are down, shots on net are down, shooting attempts are down. Like every offensive statistic essentially is down for this team. And
today with the shooting, though, I feel like they really shot every chance. But Tuck needs to start hitting the net. That guy, he probably had 4 or 5 that just went wide. I mean, like what you said about going back with Donnie, like I don't think he's going anywhere.
No, neither do I.
I really don't. I don't think he's going for a while. I mean, he signed. Pagula is not going to pay him to sit at home. We've seen it. Like he's still got. He's been paying guys that aren't on the bench for how many years? So I think we're gonna see Donnie stick it out. I hope that they turn it around. I hope what do we got? We got Pittsburgh, we got Ottawa coming up. Who's in the Kraken? Who, I mean, I could see us winning Pittsburgh. I could see us maybe making it a game out of the Kraken. Yep. We got to win one against Ottawa. Like, I mean, if we could get 4 here, that's 8 points. Let's that changes things a little bit. I mean, could you imagine going on a 4-game winning streak? We haven't had more than a 2.
I just want a 2-game winning streak. Hey, Frank, thanks for hopping in, man. I appreciate it. Depew, old school Depew stomping grounds, playing cards, playing street hockey, the good old John Egan days.
John Egan days. I just saw John yesterday. So.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
Shout out to John Egan.
He's
Depew Hall of Famer.
I hope to hear from you more on the post game. We're going to kick it over here to another friend of the program, Mr. Stephen Bennett from the Sportscasters podcast. Steve, before you get your thoughts of Sabres game, you got some big news, right?
Yeah, I just posted the season 14 episode 1, my interview with Bob Costas I did earlier tonight.
Dude, that's great. I'm so happy for you. A couple clicks for Mr. Bennett.
Crazy.
Bob Costas on the podcast. Sabres
I kind of went to Bob Costas University over the break. I was watching everything I could watch, reading everything I could read, and I was fine. I was prepared. I was ready. I didn't start flipping out until I searched his name in the podcast app and seen how few he's actually done. And then the ones he's done is like Simmons and Mike Lupica, like his buddies.
Yeah.
Not a lot of jabronis in their bedrooms in North Tonawanda have booked Bob Costas. Then I started to freak out a little bit. I was like, am I good enough for this? Whatever. But it turned out good. I'm happy with it.
Yeah. Repping the spare bedroom here in the city of Tonawanda.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm super happy for you, man. Bob Costas. Now you're in that small circle, right? That's something, you're definitely worthy of that. I mentioned to you in text messages before. Again, super excited for you. Sabres win 6-1 night, bud. Yeah. Starting off 2024 the right way. 2 power play goals. I think we might have been stealing music from Napster the last time the Sabres scored 2 power play goals.
Period. And the same period even.
Yeah. What are your thoughts? Share your thoughts.
Did you see the list of players that Casey Middlestat has more 5-on-5 points than?
Yeah, like how is he? I get it that the All-Star game's like a big, popularity contest, but if there's a player on this team that deserves to be there, it's Casey Middlestat.
He's been the best player consistently all year long. He's had a great season. And I think the person who tweeted the list initially, his point was, imagine if he could get a power play. And he started the game tonight with the power play goal.
Yep.
And a good play by him to drive to the net as soon as
he saw Skinner
go their way and he got to the net. And we've talked independently about where I'm at with this team. And admittedly, it's very frustrated. But the thing that's frustrated me the most this year are the lineups. And I've said this to you, that I just haven't felt like they're putting out a lineup that puts them in the best position to consider their evolution.
Yep.
And it'd be one thing if they were winning and you could come back at me and say, yeah, we don't have a lot of kids in, but it's the Greenways and the Akposos and the Gergensons and the Yost. These are the guys that are keeping the back end of this team alive and winning games. But absent of that, I think that and this is, I guess, my question to you. I wonder what you think about. I think that they need to, going forward here, focus more on putting lineups that include players that are going to be here when we're winning playoff rounds and winning a Stanley Cup. Things that I believe could be there. I think that they've collected a group of under 25 talent that developed the right way, that put in the right positions, could give us an era like we had in 05 and 06, when we had young Drew Stafford and young Thomas Vanek, not in the top 6.
Bottom 6.
It was okay. We put them down there.
Yep.
That's what made those teams great. And I'm not saying that Kulik or whatever name you want to throw out would go into the lineup and would be Thomas Vanek or be Drew Stafford. But let's give him a shot. Because you know who's not going to be Thomas Vanek or Drew Stafford? Jordan Greenway or Kyle Poso, and again, 1 or 2 of those guys is okay.
Yeah, I think every team needs a Greenway.
Too many. And that's been my beef. So I wonder what you think, what others think about that. And maybe even a simpler question is, what do you want to see out of this team in the 40 games that are left, or 50, whatever many are left? Besides the obvious, like we all want to see them in the playoffs, or we'd all love to see a 10-game, hell, we'd all love to see a 3-game winning streak, right? We'd love to see those things. But beyond that, absent of, I don't want to say a miracle at this point, although we're getting close, what do you want to see that puts us in the best position moving forward? And I think those are the things I want to see. More than I want to see the coach fired or the GM fired or anything like that. I want to see what the talent they've collected can actually do. And I don't mean you call the kid up and give him a minute and 44 and then send him back where he came from. Who did they do that to this year? Was it Savoy or someone played?
Kulik, and Rosen. Yeah.
Rosen, whoever. I mean, that's ridiculous. I want to see some guys come up, get a chance, see where they fit, see what it looks like, give them some NHL experience, some NHL time. I know it's not going to be perfect. I know they might make mistakes, but guess what? So are the guys playing now.
Yep.
They haven't had a 2-game winning streak yet, right? So, or whatever it is. So that's where I'm at, Duane.
No, I appreciate your thoughts. We're actually going to answer yours live later on the show, so make sure you check it out.
I will. I'm proud of you, what you're doing. Keep grinding, buddy.
Thanks, buddy. If you want to catch Steve and his interview with Bob Costas, check out him on Twitter at @sports_casters. One of the original OGs that got me into doing this, and the reason why I'm still doing this. Steve, thank you for being on an inaugural episode.
I'm here for you anytime you need me, all right?
Absolutely, bud. Let's get you on the pod again soon.
All right, looking forward to it.
All right.
Can't hear you.
I mute monitored myself. The inaugural episode or segment of Hockey Hotline. I wouldn't say it went off without a hitch. I think genuinely we probably want it to be a lot shorter. I definitely gave our callers a lot more leash because I wasn't sure how it was going to go. But I thought it went really well. So thank you to Matt, Frank, and Steve for calling in. Hopefully we see you guys again, and we get more of you, our viewers who are with us here every single post game on with us, and we'll answer Steve's question there at the end. I'm sure you were listening, Connor. Your thoughts on the lineup that Buffalo has fielded this year compared to what it could be? You see guys like Yuri Kulik tearing it up in the AHL and the World Juniors. We saw Noah Ostlund and what he was able to do in the World Juniors so far. He's been their best player for Sweden. You know, all the other prospects they have from Isaac Rosén, Matthew Savoy, you know, he tried to compare it to the 05, 06, 06, 07 Sabres that was full of nothing but youth. And while they did have certain veterans on the team, but the veterans that they did have that were 30 or older contributed in much different ways than our veterans currently do. Would you like to see a lineup more consisting of guys like Kulik in the second half of the season, adding more speed and more touch and more skill to your bottom six? Or do you think we should ride out what we've been doing and hope that maybe there's just been a structural change?
Well, I think the biggest one is Ryan Johnson needs to play every single night. I think everybody can agree on that. Erik Johnson, as you just said, he's a 30-plus guy. He was brought in for some leadership. Totally get that. I think that serves its purpose, just not on an every night basis. I think you can do a lot of different things. They've been dressing 7 defensemen. I get that, but Ryan Johnson is a top 4 defenseman on this team every single night, and he's proved that. So he needs to be in the lineup consistently. I think Kulich has proven time and time again that he can play in the NHL. He has an NHL release. He's got speed. He was just the captain of Team Czechia that got to the semifinals of the World Juniors. He had 8 points in 6 games, I think, and he's been almost a point per game player in the NHL. I don't think adding a guy with that amount of skill and that amount of upside into your lineup could ever hurt. Mm-hmm. So then it's obviously making some tough decisions. I think, namely, Eric Johnson. Obviously, I post those out right now, but then you have the Gergensons conversation. Then you have the Krebs conversation, even though he is one of your younger guys, or even, I don't know what this. Obviously, Victor Olofsson has been in and out of the lineup as well. So yeah, I think the two that we can think of immediately are Kulich and Ryan Johnson, and then moving forward, I think obviously Noah Östlund has really proven himself to be much more than a playmaker. I think a lot of people saw the goal he scored today. He's a first-round pick. He's still young, but he's got a ton of talent. So we'll see what happens moving forward. He might not be ready quite yet. Maybe get him to Rochester towards the end of the season and see what he can do in pro hockey over here. And then you go from there. But at least for this season, hopefully Kulich gets some more games. And if they keep sitting Ryan Johnson, then that's just a fatal error.
I agree. I understand they wear letters, but I've just really at least from a night-to-night basis, just don't need to see any more of what I've seen this season from guys like Gergensons. I mean, you mentioned Krebs. I mean, I don't know if Krebs he just can't bring it at the NHL level like he did in junior, or is this a situation where he just needs more opportunity with more talent? We saw the comments from Mark Stone in Vegas about Peyton Krebs and what he thought of the player he was and how smart and how he needs to be surrounded by more skill, and maybe he's right. But at this point, he's been nothing but a bottom 6 guy who hasn't really contributed offensively to this lineup, at least not enough to be a difference between winning and losing. And then we all know about Kyle Okposo. He's like an anomaly sometimes. He'll find a way to squeak out 12 to 15 goals this season. And, you look at that from a bottom 6 guy, he's like, yeah, that's what I want from my bottom 6. But we constantly see where he hurts this team in other areas. Whereas does the 15 goals justify having him in there every night? And the problem is he wears a letter. He's the captain. I am completely in favor of just a full-blown youth movement, more than what we've seen. Obviously, what's already on the roster. I look at the 05 to 07 teams as the blueprint. You need 3 scoring lines in the NHL to be successful. And if bringing in Kulich and Rosen add that dynamic to your bottom 6, then what's stopping you other than your GM? I mean, you can't tell me Granato wouldn't want them down. Granato knows that, he could be out without a job at the end of the season if things don't go well. Like, don't you want guys who can score in your lineup, who are more capable of scoring than your Okposos and Gergensons? They add more speed. They add more skill. There's more dynamic with them. So I'm completely in favor with what Steve asked. I mean, if you weren't going to make the moves in the offseason to bring more talent in, so you do have 3 scoring lines, then if the path has always been development, I don't understand what more you need to see out of Yuri Kulich and Isaac Rosen in the AHL that's stopping you from bringing them to the NHL in a full-time capacity.
Yeah, I mean, they've committed to the youth movement with their goaltending. Yep. One of the more questionable positions to do that in. I'm not necessarily sure why they wouldn't do the same thing with their offense and defense, especially with the amount of skill that they have in those positions in their pipeline. I think Devon Levi and Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen could be a consistent NHL tandem. They might not be at this current structure. I think both of them have shown flashes, but at the same time, they're both very, very young, and they're playing with a team that hasn't necessarily supported them in their own zone. Obviously, they both would probably want some goals back this season and even before with Luukkonen. But I think that if you're going to commit to it in that sense, you're going to put your best players on the ice. They finally waived Eric Comrie. No disrespect to Eric Comrie, but I think he was also put in a bad position with this team. I think, you might as well do it with the prospects that you have and put your best product out there. But I think that starts and ends with those two players that we mentioned, with Kulik and, well, maybe Rosine as well, because he's already played a few games and it seems he's a little bit more of a complete player offensively and defensively. But if you get those three guys, Ryan Johnson, Yuri Kulik, and Izek Rosine, in the lineup on a nightly basis, I think we're going to see an even higher upside than what we saw tonight and what we've seen in the wins this season. So yeah, I fully support it, but at the same time, I don't necessarily think they're going to do it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't see them unless I think the only way we might see it is if it's full blown, they're giving up on the season and just then finally looking towards next season and bringing in them so they can get NHL games in and be ready, more ready for next season with the expectation that they'll be on the roster. I don't know, man. For me, it's what have they seen from the current roster that they believe makes them a team capable of competing for just a wild card spot, let alone a playoff, like a full blown, playoff spot. I mean, both the same, but I'm going to hit the peanut gallery here real quick. I know you guys have been waiting. Ty T. Levi was a stud, flashing the mitts like nobody's business. Levi was absolutely on fire tonight. Great game by Quinn. If anyone wondered what difference one guy can make, is enough said. Power play with 2 goals. Is this the only way we didn't give up that shorty? Levi would have had the first shutout of his career in his hometown, which I think would have, I think he deserves the next day off tomorrow if that was the case. Let him go out with the fam and just for a night on the town in Montreal, eat all the poutine you want, bud. If you would have been able to if you would have been able to get the goose egg tonight in his hometown. Played 60 minutes, opportunistic scoring, solid goaltending, improved power play, room for improvement. Tuck Paterka's Cousins penalty killing squad needs more aggression. Second power play unit weak. Your thoughts on that, bud?
Yeah, I mean, I think it obviously could be better. It's a lot of young guys that I don't think have had that much power play experience in their careers. And if your first power play unit has been abysmal this season, what do you expect the second power play unit to be? I think there is a holistic approach that they haven't had the entire year. Honestly, up until tonight, like I've been watching the USA World Junior Power Play. I've seen almost every single game they've played in this tournament. And the passing and the cohesion they have is so much different than what the Sabres have had this entire season. Last year, basically, they had one play, and it always worked because nobody realized that Tage Thompson was just going to rip a one-timer every 2 seconds, and he was really good at it, and he scored like 15, 20 goals that way. But the spacing and the fluidity that the U.S. World Junior team has on their power play, I saw a little bit of it tonight with the Sabres, particularly down low and those 2 passing plays they had. So I think if the first unit gets going, that's only going to help the second unit, and they're on fourth. So we'll see what happens with that. But I think tonight was a good start.
Speaking of Team USA, what a good player Philly has in Cutter Gauthier.
He's got a rip. He's got an absolute rip. I mean, if nothing else, like that is such a good sign for the future of USA hockey that not only was this team favored going in over teams like Canada and Sweden and Finland and some of the powerhouses in the world, but they've, aside from today, they've just absolutely dominated. I know that the Czech game was pretty close. Kulik had a good game. He really good shot in the shootout, but this team is absolutely loaded. And it speaks to the program where Don Granato came from, the U.S. National Development Program. These kids have all played together for 5, 6, 7 years. There's a line on this team that plays together currently at Boston College. Will Smith, Gabe Perreault, and Matthew Leonard. And you can just tell how much chemistry they have. It kind of looks like Tage, Tuck, and Skinner at their height. They just know where each other's going to be at all times. Yep. It's really, really impressive. They have so many good offensive defensemen. Lane Hudson, Seamus Casey, and the goaltending we saw from Trey Augustine today. He was amazing. So the team is already really good. The team that's going to play in the World Cup and the Olympics in 2025 and 2026. But this new crop of young USA hockey players is utterly insane. And we'll see what happens tomorrow. It's going to be a tough game in Sweden against a really good Swedish team, obviously with 2 really good Sabres prospects. But future's bright for USA hockey, no doubt.
Yeah. Comment from Kevin here. Eric Johnson was lucky he did not get cut. We all saw that. He laid out and blocked that shot, and ton of respect for that, but then got stepped on.
I thought he was talking about cut from the team.
No. You see how his jersey?
That's where my head's at.
No,
I did see that. Yeah.
I gained. I mean, I respect him just because what he's done in his career and how far, how long he's been able to play and what he brings to the locker room. But like, lead by example, man. You saw, I forget who it was, whoever was out there with him on that same sequence after he got stepped on. You could tell he was, hurt. He wanted to go to the bench, but he saw that the play wasn't going to be broken up. He got right back in it. You could tell he was in a lot of pain. And lead by example, right? I'm not saying if you're bleeding, ferociously from your arm, stay on the ice. No, go get to the bench. But he stayed out there, led to another block shot, and then, I don't even think they even recorded a shot against in that sequence. Lead by example. I gained a lot of respect there for Eric Johnson, and I think that that's the kind of play that you want from just about everybody that you would hope would, permeate through the rest of the bench. It's like, oh shit, Eric just got stepped on, but he stayed out and he continued to block another shot and then, finished the shift for another 45 seconds. A lot of respect there for EK on that one.
Yeah, I mean, that's partially the reason he was brought in. I don't think he's necessarily been horrible, but at the same time, I do think Ryan Johnson is better. It's something they got to figure out moving forward. I think the powers that be, I think potentially might be able to come to a decision there, even if it's like a load management type situation with him. You see the guys on the NBA do it, but he's 35 years old. He doesn't need to be playing every night, and I think he could probably realize that too. So, but yeah, really, really good play by him, and yes, thankfully, it wasn't a potentially really, really scary situation.
For Mauricio here, win one, lose one. Next game, lose one. Again, same recipe for inconsistency. Power play needs to keep improving, be consistent, and penalty killing needs to improve, which coach is responsible for. Penalty kill. Specialty team is key to winning and losing. Too much parity, same level of competition, solid goaltending. It's the smallest margins to sustain success and a win streak. I mean, all great points there from Mauricio.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's been the double-edged sword, no pun intended, for the Sabres this year, right? Like only 1-2 game winning streak and nothing past that. So see what happens Saturday against a team in the Penguins that have given them a lot of trouble this season. But historically, in the past 2 to 3 years, they have played pretty well. So I think you see how you do from there, and then you figure it out.
For Where's Connor, California surfing? You've been MIA. California sun is baking your brain. We need your insights, perspective, angles, objectivity. He was actually just in Buffalo for the holidays, so he was not baking in the sun, Mauricio.
Yeah, there was no sun at all aside from Christmas Day, randomly enough. So, I had to come back home and see the family. It was a good time. Got to catch a couple games in person, which was always a lot of fun. I actually caught this T-shirt from the T-shirt cannon in the 100 level.
I got a shirt somewhere in the house from T-shirt cannon too.
In the game against in the Blue Jackets, I had an Odell catch behind my head with my right hand.
There you go.
I think I mossed a family of 4 right behind me. So I felt a little bit bad on that, but when I held it up, perfect size. I don't have that many Sabre shirts, so there's an opportunity I couldn't pass up. But I made my name known as much as I could.
Yeah. From Steve Bennett, our third caller, I would have argued that they're giving up on the season by not doing it. The current roster is losing. I mean, I wouldn't say they're giving up on the season, but they're not definitely. I don't think they're fielding their best team. I think there's definitely more to be had from the current, not from the current roster, but the roster that they could have. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, if you watched any of the Czech Republic games in the World Juniors, Yuri Kulik looks like an NHL player. Even that goal he had in the shootout against the U.S., Dave Starman said he's got an NHL release. Captain of the team, clearly a leader. I know he's only 19, 20 years old, but you can tell this kid's ready. He's proven it at pro hockey for 2 seasons now, and in one of the best tournaments in the world, which everybody says is the next step to the NHL. So you bring him up, I think, as soon as possible. If he doesn't perform, he doesn't perform. You can send him down, but I think you're doing yourself a disservice by not having him up.
Yeah. from Chris Durick, Hockey Outline brought to you by Fatty Beer Company. Now all you need is to do is bring back the Empire Sports Network fan TV 90s nostalgia. Chris actually did send us the video intro to Hockey Hotline that we can now play before we do that segment every post game. So that'll be fun. Love the new Hockey Hotline. Thanks, Guy. Appreciate that. Again, it'll be more condensed and better going forward. Again, trial and error there for sure. But yeah, good start to 2024. Connor, I know you have a hockey game to get to, so we're going to let you get out of here. Any final thoughts? Who are your 3 stars?
3 stars. I will go with Tage Thompson as 3rd star. I thought even before he scored the 2 goals, the first goal he scored was kind of a gift from Skinner. It was almost as if like, hey, take this one. Like I could probably score this, but I'm going to give it to you so you can gain a little bit of confidence. But even before that backhand toe drag through the legs move that he made and shot it right into Allen's pads. If he had shot it 2 inches to the left, that is a goal reminiscent of all the highlight reel goals he scored last season. So that made me kind of think that he's getting closer to the player he was last season, which obviously is the Sabres' best offensive player. Good sign for them moving forward. 2 or 3 points tonight. I thought he had a really good night. 2nd star, Jeff Skinner, as we talked about him a lot. A Canadian killer, a Montreal Canadian killer, not all Canadians, as he is a Canadian himself. A very good Canadian boy in that. But obviously, really good night. Amazing pass on the power play over to Casey Middlestat to get the team going. And then also got a return favor on the back end and scored a similar goal himself. Most consistent goal scorer for the team this season and someone they need, obviously, to keep doing that moving forward. Number 1, I think you guys all know it, Devon Levi, obviously.
We had the
hometown
same
kid, first NHL game in Montreal. He looked like he was comfortable. Family front row seats in a suite in the stands. Who knows how many friends, family, cousins, former teammates he had in the building. You could tell that he had his athletic, aggressive, flexible self that we all saw at the end of last season and we have in spurts this season. I think a lot of goalies know that they play better when there's a little bit more meaning behind it, when there are people in the stands that they care about, that they want to put a good show in front of. And from the opening puck drop, you could tell he had it tonight. And I think we can all agree that if he is even 85 to 95% of that moving forward for this season, obviously in spurts, you don't want to play him too much, but that would be the best possible thing for this team moving forward. I think we probably get UPL on Saturday, but shout out to Devon Levi. He was absolutely unbelievable tonight, and I can't wait to see him play next.
Who is Saturday against?
Penguins on the road.
Penguins on the road. I mean, they haven't been afraid to start him 2 games in a row. We'll see. I do think you're right, though. It probably will be UPL.
Yeah, I think they're just going to be cautious. He had a good amount of work tonight, and obviously an emotional game. So maybe give him some rest and then give him the Kraken at home next Tuesday, and which starts 6 straight home games against the Kraken, the Senators, the Canucks, the Sharks, the Blackhawks, and the Lightning. Got to get 4 of those without question.
I definitely I will be there for the Kraken game. As of right now, I will be there. So excited for that. Probably one of the better non-goat head jerseys in the NHL. I like the Kraken.
Their away jerseys, I think,
they're beautiful.
Probably the best full-time away jersey in the league.
They're beautiful. They're absolutely beautiful.
That shade of teal is just so good.
Great showing in the Winter Classic for them.
The Winter Classic jerseys were, oh my God,
unbelievable.
Oh, so good.
Did you see when they announced that the Winter Classic was going to be there? They had Marshawn Lynch there, and they had the 24, which happened to be his number in the NFL. And then the Winter Classic, and he was supposed to give it back, and he just flat out refused. He goes, "How are you going to give me this jersey to wear? It has my number on it, and then you're going to pretend that you're going to take it from me?" He's like, "I would love to see you take that jersey away from Marshawn."
We did a story overnight about Marshawn Lynch smashing a fan's phone that asked for a picture over the weekend in Seattle. So I think the person that asked for that jersey back recanted their request pretty quickly. He's a pretty scary dude. It's not the first time he's done that either.
No, he's notorious for his antics here in Buffalo, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Connor, great show. Hockey Hotline kind of sort of went off without a hitch. Can't wait to bring that segment to you guys during every post game. Just remember, if you are interested in calling in and sharing your thoughts, whether you're ranting or celebrating the first 15 minutes after the final whistle, or like tonight, if we feel fairly certain what the result is, we'll open the room early. Let you guys get your calls in, 30 seconds uninterrupted going forward. But appreciate Steve, Frank, and Matt for hopping on with us. And remember that everybody, that's been brought to you by Fatty Beer Company, Buffalo's premier market and tap room. 7 different Western New York locations, open from 11:30 a.m. till 10:30 p.m. and later, with live entertainment and trivia at all 7 locations weekly. And of course, they are one of Western New York's only kid and dog friendly bars. And don't forget about Buffalo Logo Apparel, Buffalo's best spot for all your local apparel needs for your Buffalo sports, whether it's the Sabres, Bills, or Bisons, Bandits. Get over to Buffalo Logo Co. on Instagram and Twitter, but Fatty Beer on Instagram and Twitter. Hurls, I will talk to you on Saturday.
Yeah.
Correct? Pittsburgh?
Yes.
Saturday night. Go Sabres. Go Bills this Sunday as they fight for the division. I know we got a lot of friends already down there getting ready to party it up until Sunday night. And hopefully we'll know regardless, we'll know by Saturday if they are in fact in the playoffs beforehand. So we'll talk to you guys later. I'll hang up and listen. And as always, have a great night. I'm dragging this on, and Happy New Year to you all. Go Sabres.